Alright, so now we're going to install our pump and our heater in preparation for filling the tank with water. Let's start with the pump. You're going to need the pump itself and the small plastic tube. So we just start by unraveling the cable. Hold on to this because we can use it later to bundle all of our cables into a neat package. The pump has two sections, an inlet on the bottom and an outlet on the side. You can tell which ones are the bottom and the side by looking here. There's a small display that allows for the control of the pump on the top. So if the tube is directly on the other side of the display, that means it's the bottom. We're going to need to attach our small plastic tube to the inlet of the pipe, like so. We are now going to attach the pump to our under-gravel filter. You may have noticed with our under-gravel filter that there are two tubes coming out of it, a shorter, fatter tube and a longer, thinner tube. The shorter, fatter tube is the one that we will be attaching the pump to. I'm now attaching the pump to the under-gravel filter tube. When we're attaching the pump to the under-gravel filter, it's important to not dislodge the pipe or the actual mesh piece itself from the bottom of the tank. If we do this, it means that gravel will get caught underneath the mesh filter, and when we turn on the pump, it'll go up the tube and get lodged inside the pump, and we want to avoid that. So just be careful not to move this pipe too much or pull it up at all. Only push down on it when installing the pump. Okay, and now we're going to install our heater. Now this is very important for the health of our fish. Our fish like to have an ambient temperature of about 24 degrees, being tropical fish, and this heater will ensure that it remains that way. It's always a good idea to read the manual and responsibly recycle any cardboard materials. Again, hold on to these little ties. When adding the heaters to the tank, if you like, you can place it up against the light post. This just looks kind of discreet and out of the way, but of course you can put it anywhere in the tank if you like. There we go, simple as that. With these suction cups, it just easily stays on. There are two important things to know about in looking after our heaters. The first is that it should always be submerged in water when turned on. And the second is that the bottom of the heater should not be touching the gravel at any point. Both of these things are important to make sure that the glass does not shatter inside of our tank. If we look after our heater right, it'll last us years and years. And now for a very exciting part of the setup, we're going to use these little cables that came with our heaters and our pump to tidy up our cables here. Alrighty, so we've attached our pump and our heater. Now it's time to fill the tank with water. There's a really great way to fill the tank with water that doesn't disturb our gravel, and that's using a plastic grow tray. Simply place one of these in our tank like this, and we then pour the water over the top. This will disperse the flow and not destroy our nicely escaped gravel. The tray is also useful because we can measure how much water we need to add. When we're filling up the tank, we should always keep it about ½ centimeter below the bottom of the grow tray. This is so that when we're growing microgreens, they have a small space for air and it prevents root rot. So get your jerry can, fill it with water, and get pouring. So just use a small vessel and pour gently as a can splash. No need to rush. So I'm pretty happy with that water level. As you can see, the tank is quite murky at the beginning. This is very normal. It's just because of the sediment that's been stirred up by pouring the water into the tank. Over the next couple of days, cycling it, the murkiness will disappear. Now there's one last step before we can move on to plugging everything in, and that is adding our tank starter. Now this is a small concoction of bacteria that are beneficial to the tank health. Essentially, we're adding good bacteria that are going to promote the aquaponic life cycle. We're going to explain more of this in module 3 of the program, but for now, all you need to do is take your tank starter and simply pour and add it to your tank. So that concludes the setup of our aquaponic system. In the next section, we're going to show you how to plug everything in and test it all works.